We're going to use ArcPy to segment linear features into equal lengths and create a custom tool. So let's check it out. Up top, we are importing ArcPy. Here we have links to the Esri documentation for all the functions and geoprocessing tools used throughout this workflow. First up, we have the user inputs. There are 3 of them. We want an input linear feature class that represents the lines to be chopped up into equal segments. We have the output feature class that will contain the segments. And then the user can define how many line segments will be created from each input linear feature. We have a few required objects to help us with our workflow. First, we are getting the spatial reference ID from the input linear feature class, as we will create the output feature class with the same spatial reference. We need to know the OID field from the input linear feature class, so we can grab the OID information and add it to the output in the ArcGIS field that we're going to create. We're going to transfer the attributes from the original line to each segment. We're going to create a list of input field names from our input linear feature class, but we're not interested in fields that are type blob, geometry, global ID, GUID, OID, or raster. We're also going to remove the shape length field from our infield names. Our infield names are going to be used in a search cursor as we iterate over the original input lines. So here we construct the final list of field names. We want our OID field name, we want all the other field names, and we also need the shape at token to access the geometry. Our output field names will be used in the insert cursor as we inject each segment into our output feature class. Here we create a list of the original input field names minus the shape length, and we add a shape at token so we can insert the geometry for each segment. Next up, we are going to create a temporary polyline feature class in the memory workspace. So we have a variable here called tempfc, where we are calling, I do not need 2 ArcPys in there, where we are calling ArcPy, and from the data management toolbox, the create feature class geoprocessing tool. Our out path is the memory workspace, and our out name will be tempfc. The geometry type is polyline. Our template is our in features. So we're using the schema from our input linear feature class. Has M and has Z are same as template, so if the input has M and Z values, the output feature class will also be M and Z enabled. And then we use a spatial reference ID from our input linear feature class to create the output with the same spatial reference. We're going to add 2 fields to our memory feature class. That is the ArcFID field and the ArcSeek field. The ArcFID field will represent the OID from the original linear feature class per segment, and the ArcSeek is the sequence of how those lines were chopped up from 1 and incrementing by 1 as we go along the line. So we need to adjust our output field names list, where we put the ArcFID at the start of the list. This is to match the OID at the start of the input field names. And at the end, we are going to add the sequence number. Now to the main event, where we're going to segment each line. We first open up an insert cursor. Our in table is our temporary linear feature class, and our field names are out field names, the list that we have constructed. We're then going to iterate over each line in the input feature class. So here we use a search cursor, where our in table is our input feature class. Our field names are our in field names that we have constructed. So for each record or feature in our cursor, we are going to get a list of segments. Now this piece of code is courtesy of ArcPy Cafe. It's been quite some time since they have put up any blogs, but there's plenty of useful ArcPy code on their site. So for each line, we are going to grab the geometry, which sits at row -1. This is the shape at token. And we're going to call the segment along line method for a polyline geometry object. If the user wanted a line chopped up into 10 equal pieces, our segments list will return the geometry of all 10 polylines. We're then going to iterate over this segment list using enumerate. The enumerate value will become the sequence ID. So for sequence ID and segment in enumerate segments and starting at 1, we get the original attributes from the input line and we remove the geometry. And that's what's happening here, where we're using row from the start of the row to -1 for that particular line. And then we're adding in the new segment geometry and sequence. So we'll have a list of the original attributes, the geometry, and the sequence ID, and that matches our output field names. That will allow us to call the insert cursor, insert row method, and insert the record or the feature. Once we have iterated over all our linear features and all our segments have been added to the temporary feature class held in memory, we are going to save that feature class to disk, where we call the ArcPy export features geoprocessing tool from the conversion toolbox. Our in features is our temp feature class stored in memory, and our out features is the out feature class path as set by the user. Now, while not necessary, we're going to clean up the memory workspace. I just think it's a good habit. We call ArcPy, and from the data management toolbox, we're calling the delete tool and supplying in our tempfc to remove it from the memory workspace. So let's head over to ArcGIS Pro and see how this script has been turned into a custom tool. In ArcGIS Pro, I've created a custom tool called Split Line to Equal Segments. And let's take a look at how this was created. So with the properties, I've named it Split Line to Equal Segments, gave it a description, and we'll move into the parameters. So here we can see our 3 inputs from the script. We have our in features, which is the input linear features, our out feature class, which is our output feature class, and how many equal segments to create. Our in features is required and it is of data type feature layer, and we have set a filter where it can only be an input of polyline. Our output feature class has a data type of feature class. Direction is output, and the feature type will also be a polyline. We've set how many equal segments to be data type of long. All 3 are required parameters. In execution, you just go to the top right and click on the folder and navigate to where you saved the Python script. We can see here the same script that was used as we talked through the workflow. We have no validations to set, so I can click OK. In my map, I have a canals dataset from the Environmental Protection Agency in Ireland. If I open the attribute table, there are 16 linear features in this dataset with a host of attributes. I'll just scroll across. You can see them all there. And I'm going to split each line into 100 equal line segments. That means we'll have 1,600 features in our output feature class. I'll close the attribute table and I'll open my split line to equal segments tool. The input linear features are the canals. My output feature class is going to my default file geodatabase. I'll just leave it at that, and I'm going to split into 100 segments. I'll run the tool. The tool is complete. We can see that the feature class has been added to the map. If I right click and go to attribute table, we can see we have the 1,600 features created from the original 16. The attributes have been maintained. If I scroll across, we have our ArcFID and our ArcSequence fields that we added. I highlight the first row and I'll scroll down to 100. We can see then that that first 100 belongs to ArcFID1, and the ArcSequence has incremented from 1 to 100. We then kick into the second feature and the sequence begins back at 1. and we can see those 100 lines selected on the map. I'll turn off the canals layer, and I'll right click on our new layer, go to properties, on the definition query. I'll create a new definition query where the origFID is equal to 1. That'll be what we have selected in our map. I'll click OK. I'll close the attribute table. I'll clear the selection and I'll zoom in, and we can right click on the layer, go to symbology, and we'll go to unique values, and we'll base that on our sequence. If we zoom in, we can see the original line segmented into 100 equal lengths. The workflow we just saw can be achieved on a basic license. There's a link below this video for the code over on a blog post. Make sure to check out other ArcPy videos from this playlist up here, and be sure to subscribe. Take care.